As you know, the theme this year for the high holidays at Agudas Achim is homecoming, and that's why it is my privilege and my honor to welcome home Rabbi Alex Friedman from the great state of Texas, born just up the road, up I-35 in Austin. I've known Alex for many, many years. Watching him become the man, the rabbi he is today is it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's I can say, when I get to Olam Haba, the things I will be most proud of is watching Jewish continuity, Lador Vador, in action, and I'm very proud to be here in this moment right now. I'm also very proud that he's giving the sermon because the Torah reading today was the Akedah, so he's going to give us the sermon this morning. Afterwards, after the service, if you see Rabbi Alex Friedman, give him a handshake, welcome him home. We're so happy to have him. And once again, welcome to Agudas Achim in San Antonio.
Thank you. I just remembered my bar mitzvah was like, I think it was I was the first bar mitzvah Devar Torah you ever heard.
This is true.
Hopefully the lights won't go out in the middle of this one.
Amen.
Shana Tova, Chodesh Tov, Good Yantif. It all works. What an odd moment of deja vu for me. I don't know if anyone here will remember this, but this is actually not my first time visiting Agudas Achim in San Antonio. I grew up in Austin, as Rabbi Hodson mentioned, at this synagogue's sister shul, also called Agudas Achim. And Rabbi Hodson and I both had the very same first rabbi. And when I was in high school, Rabbi Hodson was my USY advisor. And in my final year of USY, after Rabbi Hodson had gone off to go become a rabbi, we had a convention here in San Antonio. We had a kala. And I was given the honor then of delivering a Devar Torah. And while I don't remember much about what it was about, I do know that it started with a reference to the movie Frozen. I know myself well enough to know that even as many years ago as that moment was, it was probably already a dated reference. It's also my understanding that Agudas Achim went on a journey in leadership before having the good fortune of hiring my former USY advisor, and this convention had come in the midst of that journey. Now, this story may be apocryphal, but it is my understanding that at the shul board immediately following that convention, the question was asked, can't we just hire that kid? Congratulations, San Antonio, you did it. Here I am. Homecoming indeed. The serendipity of this occasion, of this nearly accidental homecoming, to me stands in stark contrast with the stories we've read today and yesterday. They are decidedly not stories of people coming home, but rather stories of people becoming homeless. Yesterday, we told the tale of Ishmael and Hagar, banished in the wilderness and left to die. Today, we told the tale of Isaac. Now, every time I've read this story, I get bogged down in the morality play. Did Abraham really mean to kill his son? Did God really ask for that? What would it mean if the answer to either of those questions was yes? But this year, I can't. I just can't. I cannot focus on violent stories of children nearly dying. You will have to forgive me. I think we've had enough of it. I feel myself desperate to get to the end of the story. I want to know how it ends, what happens to everyone. There's a part of me that feels that if only I can find my way to the end of these horrors, then perhaps the horrors of the world outside might find their conclusion. After the binding, after Abraham is stopped by the angel at the last possible moment, after the knife falls from his hand, after the ram is found, what happens? Abraham names the place Adonai Yireh. God will see, God has seen. An obvious parallel to the place Hagar named just yesterday after her ordeal, Be'er Lachai Ro'i, the well of the living God who sees me. God gives Abraham a blessing, and Abraham returns to the bottom of the mountain to his servants and goes on his way. Isaac is not with him. This episode has robbed Isaac of his father. He will never speak to him again. This story robs Isaac of his mother, too. Our mythic history imagines that when she heard about the ordeal, how close her son came to death, she collapsed into screams and crying, her voice bellowing like a shofar blast, until her heart couldn't take it anymore and she died. Immediately after Abraham returned to his home without Isaac, without Sarah, the Torah gives us a genealogy which introduces us to Rivka, Isaac's future wife. Our rabbis believe that the whole reason for that genealogy was to make us aware of Rivka, to expect her imminent arrival. A solution to all of our problems is on the horizon. The Torah, I believe, wants us to sit in that tension as we wait. That dramatic irony, knowing what is coming, wondering when Rivka will finally make her appearance, waiting impatiently for the end of the story. But Isaac is simply not ready. So what happens to Isaac? He leaves. We don't see him again for many chapters. For 3 years, Isaac is missing from the pages of our stories. When he next appears, he will be on his way back from Be'er Lachai Ro'i. Isaac, it seems, has been staying with his half-brother Ishmael and with Ishmael's mother Hagar at the place that she named. After the trauma of his near filicide, Isaac has gone out and found the only two people in the entire world who could possibly understand what he has just gone through, who also saw Abraham rise early in the morning and make them homeless, who were saved only by an angel's hand, whose lives feel fragile and perilous. Isaac will sit with his half-family for 3 years, paralyzed by what has been, desperate to try and bring it back. Our tradition imagines that he was trying to convince Hagar to come back with him, to return to Abraham and marry him. I imagine him saying, "My mother, Sarah, is dead, and my father really liked you, Hagar. If you come back, we could be one big happy family again." He, like me, is desperate to see his way to the end of the story. He believes that if he can just skip to the end, everything will be better. But Hagar refuses. She's happy with what she's built. It takes Isaac 3 years to see the truth. The past is gone. It will not be back. I imagine that after those 3 years of asking Hagar to come back with him into the past, Isaac finally moves on. When Isaac returns to our story, he is returning alone from Be'er Lachai Ro'i, and we find him praying in a field as the dark of evening rolls in. We, the readers, have just witnessed the story of Rivka at the well, watering Eliezer's camels, coming back to marry his master's son, to marry Isaac. We can see her coming. Isaac finally looks up. And for the first time in 3 years, Isaac sees a future that is different from his past. Isaac takes Rivka into Sarah's former tent, and he marries her. Isaac loves her. It's the first time in the Torah that a man has ever loved a woman. Finally, he is comforted after the death of his mother. The lessons Isaac learns are lessons we could all use in these disquieting times. There's a desire to rush to the end of a story, to not take care with how that end is reached. When the world shatters, we are so desperate for everything to go back to the way it was, we can miss the opportunity to see the world as it could be. We are called, I think, to allow our feelings and thoughts to have their due, to take our time in feeling what we feel, to not always jump to the nearest and hottest take, to the simplest solution, which is usually wrong. We find that those solutions, like Isaac trying to bring Hagar back, often require that we use other people rather than open up ourselves. We think that if we can imagine the end of a story, that is how the story must end. But the world is never that simple. On this day of judgment, at the beginning of the year, on this day, Hayom Harat Olam, this day which is pregnant with the world, let's give ourselves time. Let's stop the frantic stumbling through our lives, which mistakes simplicity and familiarity with sensibility and feasibility, which never stops to take stock of the ways our actions affect other people, which gives in to the narcissistic and hedonistic belief in simple answers to the questions that matter. Let us make this a season of deep reconciliation, of thoughtfulness, of hopefulness, of exploration, of creativity, of change, of taking our time, of listening to those who are in our power to ignore. Because we don't know how this story ends. May we enter this new year like Isaac, able to imagine a future which is better than the past we have just escaped. Shana Tova.